The hotline for the first time tonight, and the first time we've had this dude on, and this is one of the legendary voices that you're going to hear, whether it be, so let me see if I can figure legendary voices not only at a racetrack, but at a football stadium, at a volleyball gym, at a baseball field, softball complex. Man, this dude, I don't know how he can ever talk because he's always talking all the time. We welcome to the show for the first time my main man, Milton Hope. Milton, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. You left out your father's favorite announcer.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I love it. I love it. That's exactly right.
I was going to say the voice of the UTSA Roadrunners. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in my life. But matter of fact, real quick before we get into this, Bobby, what in the world is going on behind you there? You got some sort of action back there with that dog doing all sorts of things.
Yeah, the dog's a little crazy. He likes spending time in the man cave. Unlike the setup at the studio in Round Rock, the actual couch is behind me here versus where it's in front of it's behind the cameras there at the regular studio. So the good news is the dog has not completely, utterly, or why does I say that? I'm going to say lick his private spots, but I think he's trying to do that now because he knows he's on camera.
Or Bobby's.
He's been doing all sorts of stuff.
Or Bobby's. That's why we keep the camera high because we don't. This is a G-rated program. We don't need any of that shit going on around here.
I could tell by the language.
yeah, exactly. Milton, we'll talk about CBS and all that here in just a little bit. But Trey, I have always wanted to ask you, how in the hell did you get? How'd this start for you? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I know SAS all the years there, but. How'd you start out in this lovely, just $1 million money making world that we like to call race announcing and sports announcing?
Well, back in the day, I was in the first Gulf War, and I was with Armed Forces Radio and Television over in Saudi Arabia, kind of right in the middle of it. Wow. And I was sending some stories, little 60-second snippets back to a local news talk radio station, KTSA.
Nice.
And so when I got out of the military and we moved back to San Antonio, I went down just to say hello to the people that I'd only ever spoken to over the phone, introduced myself. They said, "Hey, we're looking for a overnight guy." I'm like, "Yeah, I need a job."
Yeah.
So one day, Trey Ware, the famous voice and the famous Ware family, he comes into the newsroom and he says, there's me, there's a couple other guys sitting there. "Hey, I was supposed to go announce down at Shady Oak Speedway tonight down in Goliad, but I can't make it. Anybody want to give it a try?" And we all looked at each other and I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." And, anytime you volunteer for something like that, say, "I'll give it a shot." It's turned into, I guess it's like 28 years later now, still going at it, having had the opportunity and the privilege to be at several different tracks here in Texas and now at Cotton Bowl Speedway. But it all started with, and that's the same way football started. The Judson football announcer walked in the newsroom one day and said, "Hey, I'm leaving, and who wants to take my place?" And yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. So this Friday night, I started my 30th year over with the Judson School District as the PA announcer. Awesome. So you raise your hand and say, "I'll give it a try." It's 28 to 30 years later, I would have never suspected it would have gone that long.
I love it.
It's just crazy how that works. Was Rodney and I do it? I mean, I've done it almost 20 years. Rodney's coming up on about 16, 17, because he's not too terribly far behind us. But what's been the most memorable portion of it? I mean, obviously the speed of which football and softball and baseball goes different than racing. I mean, is the racing more? Do you have one of the more memorable stories with racing, or you got another memorable stories with the stick and ball sports that stick out? If I say, what's one of your favorite moments?
Well, I would say just two quick ones. San Antonio Speedway, we had some fiery crashes out there, and Terry Dickerson jumping his into a flaming Winnebago. That was kind of crazy there. Larry Bendeley crashing into the inside wall one time, I believe, and But football has given me the most memorable things. Bobby, you know about the two UTSA, big plays by Oscar Cardenas, and but high school wise, Judson has some memorable playoff wins, trailing 32-3 at halftime, and came back to beat the Austin Maroons 33-32. And then Judson won a state championship in 2002 as a running team. They got the ball back with 24 seconds left and 76 yards away, and they threw a Hail Mary and scored the state championship win. So I've had the opportunity to be able to do a lot. Final Four for men's and women's. I've been involved with that. So there's just a lot of things I've seen that I just never would have dreamed of.
Yeah. You get just amazing memories that happen with this job, and I tell people it's like it's a great service that we provide, but at the same time we get to see and be a part of really cool stuff. Milton, what I've always loved about you are all about. I mean, we can kind of go to the racing side now. You are all about the race fan. I mean, you like to get the race fans involved, and like on race night, when you have people checking in to let you know where they are checking in from. Kind of speak to that part, because the race fan is so important. I don't care if they're there on property or if they're checking in, on Race On or whatever streaming source it may be. They are so important to the livelihood of the sport, and getting them involved, that really makes them feel like they're a part of whatever may be happening.
Well, I think so, and it goes back to my days at San Antonio Speedway, where I would walk through the stands and shake hands and thank people for being there. But with this new technology that's out there today, and we got that Race on Texas set up right behind me, and I just decided to give it a try one night, and they didn't even know I was going to do it, and we just quickly built a little screen shot that they could put up there on the screen. Tony Fetters, and he just put up the email address, and I thought, if I get a couple or 10 or 12, that's fine.
Sure.
And I've been averaging about 50 to 60 emails a night. Just, it's a simple address, because I'm a simple guy, man. racelocation@yahoo.com. But, over the past couple of years that I've been doing this, we've received not just the local families in the Coppers Cove and Austin and Goliad and stuff like that, but I've had emails from Japan. I've had them from Germany, Hungary, North Carolina, New York. So you're right. I mean, we are used to touching the people that are right out there in front of us or that we walk by, but now we have a completely different audience now that can stream wherever they're at. And, so I think it's really important to let them know, hey, we know that you're out there. Tell us where you're at, and tell us who's watching with you. And if you're cheering somebody on, Joe Blow would love to know that their grandparents, like Jared Moppin.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
His grandmother and the family down there in the valley are his biggest supporters, but they are always sending me one of those first emails to cheer on Jared. So, it's just something that you and I and Bobby and the other announcers have always reached out and touched the people in front of us. Well, now we have a completely different audience that's somewhere else, but it's almost like they're sitting right there in front of us.
That's right.
Well, then how much has that changed the way that you've announced over the years, where it's like back in the days, it was like just PA stuff, right? Just like a normal sporting event. Now it's like, because we don't want to have the dead air with the Race on Texas or the streaming or stuff like that, it's like we have to talk all the time now. And it's like, some people say we still talk too much, but it's like, to me, even just the course of the time that I've been doing it, it seems to change the way of a regular race announcer, where you got to go from a race announcer, PA type of guy, to a color guy, like you're watching something on TV.
Well, I've kind of gone into that mindset here lately, and you kind of explained that perfectly, is that we don't just talk to the audience out there and that's sitting in the grandstands or in the pits anymore. We're talking to people that are doing the dishes, or they're watching racing on TV and watching Race on Texas on their laptop. They could be shopping or driving. But the way I've kind of adapted to it is, you're right. We constantly talking, and sometimes I have come into that part where I just really want to explain to the fans in the grandstands, hey, you might hear me say something that doesn't make sense, but it's because I'm talking to a different crowd,
right,
on the stream. And Scotty, the producer there at Cotton Bowl Speedway with Race on Texas, he and I have kind of developed this thing where we've got the camera right behind me that we do the pre-race show with. And periodically what we'll do is I'll run back upstairs after doing the winner's interview, and I'll turn around and face a camera and give a quick recap to the people that are watching on the screen, which isn't going to make any sense to the people that are sitting out in the grandstands. So you try to make it sound generic, but it's really tough. I mean, like, you're a PA announcer to the grandstands, but you're a color commentator to the people watching the streaming service. And it's interesting, and I just kind of talk them through it these days now.
Yeah. It Milton, for me, it was really weird because I had somebody walk up to me one time. I was doing a race, and kind of the same thing, exactly what you guys are talking about right there. Because it would be like, okay, in the downtime, you're talking to the folks that are there on the property, and at the same time, the streaming folks are watching, and they can kind of relate to what's happening. Then the race would start, and I'd sit and I'd scream and I'd do all this other stuff, and I was doing a race, and a guy walks up to me and he's like, they can't hear you in the stands, right? What you need to do is you need to talk to the people that are watching. And then you go into that mode. You go into the play-by-play mode, and then you pull it all together. So it really has been a changing cycle for us, to where we've had to evolve into everything that's thrown at us, because, man, it has changed real damn quick.
Well, you're exactly right about that, and that's one of the things that we've had to do in a completely different changeover on, is that we are Joe Buck and Troy Aikman now.
Yep.
Oh, I hate to say those two names, but we are those guys describing the action to the people who are watching on a screen. And granted, the people in the stands might not be able to hear us, but we're still talking because we have that totally separate audience. And, over the years, back at Texas Dirt Speedway, at Goliad, at San Antonio Speedway, at Thunder Hill, here at Cotton Bowl, I mean, it's always been fun to kind of get agitated and excited and kind of get that pumped up announcing type deal. But over the years, as you guys get older and start to catch up with me, you'll start to find out that it's kind of tough to do that for 5 and 6 hours. So I have almost turned into a color commentator the whole time. Now I'll throw in some excitement when it really gets good out there on the track, and kind of get it pumped up and do like a lot of these big time announcers do. But a lot of times too, it's just I'm going to back off and just talk to the people and tell them what I see. Yep. I'll turn to H and talk to him, and tell him a joke, and he'll laugh, and I'll turn around and talk to the people. It really has changed a lot.
Yeah, sure has.
So, Milton, let's talk about Cotton Bowl. Obviously, I was there with some work colleagues a couple of weeks ago. They enjoyed the show. In fact, a handful of them actually went back without me, so they enjoyed the show as much or without me. But talk about this summer shootout series. That's one of those things where it's always been it's the hottest part of the summer. It's the hardest time to get people to come to the racetrack, because you got back to school and summer vacations and all this extra stuff. But all that extra effort that Cotton Bowl puts into the summer shootout series or showdown series, that tends to pay off in the late summer months, because it was fairly decently packed, and more importantly, the racing action was pretty damn entertaining when I was out there.
Well, I think, Aaron Brungott and Mary Ann and all those that put on the Advanced Auto Parts Summer Showdown Series really do a great job. And then with the sponsors that we have, Race on Texas, Day Motorsports, All In Designs, ACM Services, there's a lot more. But there's a lot of people, behind the scenes. And the drivers, like you said, Bobby, it's hot out there. It is hot. But they come out because they know it's going to be a well-run show. It's going to be a time to come together and maybe pick up a little extra cash in their pocket if they can finish in the top 5 this year, and kind of spread a little bit money out. When you were there a couple of weeks ago, a decent crowd. The other night, Saturday night, good crowd. Sometimes more of a late arriving crowd because they wait for the sun to go down a little bit more. But a lot of people really look forward to the Advanced Auto Parts Summer Showdown Series to get out there and go at it and run with some of the best drivers around.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I like that race within a race. I think that's something really cool. So your thoughts, Milton? Here, a couple of races left out there. Everything's pretty hot and heavy. Just kind of preview what's to come at CBS here as we get ready to put the bookend here on 2023.
Well, we have one race coming up where the IMCA cars are going to be off that weekend, so we'll have the Sport Compacts and our other three classes, and then we'll have the trucks and the dwarf cars come in. But we've got some really, really tight battles going on right now. One of the good ones going on is the Amelia Montalvo Realtor Sport Compacts. Gabby King has really come about this year. She's really improved from the previous year, and she's 7 points behind John DeWitt as they go into the final couple of races here of the season. Of course, we all know, if I mention the word Chris Morris, that's the end of the discussion right there, right? He's got that one wrapped up. Design Welding Factory Stocks, Dylan Kowalik. When we say factory stocks at Cotton Bowl Speedway, a lot of people will think about, Tim Holmeyer in the 8-star car, all these years winning championships. Well, he's in a tight battle right now between himself and Dylan Kowalik. Kowalik's got a 2-point lead after this past weekend's race. Dylan had some issues with his car, had to leave the track. The stock right tire, I think it was, nearly came off the rim down the front straightaway, and Holmeyer had a good finish. So he pulled from like 8 points behind up to 2 points behind. Street stocks, Advanced Auto Parts Street stocks. Brandon Springs had a great run this year.
Yeah, sure has.
He's got a 25-point lead over Chase Ellison. Browning Auto Parts iStocks. This has been a really fun class to watch. But Jason Batt didn't have a good run the other night. Did not finish, but he's got a 27-point lead over the veteran AJ Dancer. So he's got a good one there. Southern Sport Mods. Pretty good battle there. Heath Stewart in the 814. You and I are very familiar with that young man right there. He's got a 12-point lead over James Honish. And then the modifieds, well, like I said, Chris Morris, that's a 110-point lead with basically one race to go because they're off one of the weeks. So it's been very, very exciting racing this year. You were mentioning a moment ago about to Bobby about how you guys didn't finish at 2:45 in the morning, and you and I were kind of messaging back and forth about some of these late nights, and you can. Racing is a funny beast, man, because you can be cruising along and all set to have an all-time record for finishing, then the gremlins come out. Yeah, I don't know where those gremlins are coming from, but they can slow down a race really, really quick.
Yes, sir, they sure can.
Milton, I'm not going to let you go with. We'll talk about. Go ahead to finish the gremlin story, then we'll get into something else.
Well, Rodney, I was going to tell you, your buddy Cody up there in the box running the scoreboard the other night. Yeah. He looked over at me and H, and he said, "Well, it looks like we're going to be done by 9 o'clock." And I turned to him and said, "Shut your mouth!
Don't
shut up!
That shit!
Never say that."
Yeah, no, do not." Milton, I mean, you can appreciate this. But sorry, Bobby. The other night, I'm doing football. I'm doing Westwood and Eastview, and we are just blowing through this thing. I mean, we get in. We're halfway through the second quarter. We had not had a penalty flag, and I mentioned that. I'm like, this has been a clean ball game, which is really weird, being an opening game with no penalties. And, 16 later, we're done.
Yeah, it's like softball out at UTSA. Yeah. UTSA will jump out to the lead, and somebody will say, "Well, it looks like we're going to run rule them tonight." Next thing you know, we're in extra innings. So
yeah,
we get that jinx out there.
That's right.
We just know, don't say certain things at a sporting event.
That's right. That's right.
Milton, I'm not going to let you go without talking a little bit of UTSA football. Season kicks off this Saturday night in Houston against the University of Houston Cougars, and a couple of good home games, especially when we get to kick Texas State's ass again inside the Dome for win number 5 in a row over the Bobcats. Talk about your expectations of this season. I don't want to get too far in front of the horse, but I got a feeling I'm going to go to New Orleans against Tulane and probably watch the battle for the championship down there at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking for a national championship for UTSA this year. They should be able to, bring on Alabama or whatever they want to say.
Who?
No, I mean, we got Texas next year, and I hear Texas is trying to get out of that game already because they don't want to face us.
That's right.
But, no, it's UTSA's got a lot of returning starters this year on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be over there. Bobby, I think I saw you said you're going as well over to Houston. If we can keep away from injuries and just stay on track, let's take care of Houston and avenge that 3 overtime loss last year, and then move on to the Kitty Cats from Texas State. Take care of that business, and then the Friday night matchup, the one after that, is Army. And Army always brings in a great team to the Alamo Dome, and you never know what to expect. We were fully loaded with almost all these same players last year and barely beat them at their place. And then we close out the non-conference with Tennessee. Oh, my goodness.
That'll be fun. That'll be a fun
one. Yeah, so that'll be a good one. So, yeah, good expectations. I try not to put the cart before the horse, but if everything stays according to plan, we should have a great season.
Yep, no doubt about it. You do a great job.
I was at that Army game, and those were actually really nice fans. Beautiful campus, West Point was, but the fans themselves were just really openly friendly. It must have been the bright orange shirts we had on because they just wanted to talk about why we left Texas to come to New York. So, but lots of good stuff. I look forward to hearing you pump up the crowd there, Milton.
I've spent 5.5 years up there in that part of the state, and I wouldn't want to have gone back up there.
Milton's like, they ain't all that great.
Yeah, nah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Milton, we need to do this again during the off season. We can just do an hour and a half of just back and forth and telling stories and doing all this stuff. But wanted to get you in here, because with CBS coming off of the series right there, and then what's coming forward. But man, I know you are a busy man, but let's do it again, my friend. Always a pleasure to get to talk to you, and you are the man, my brother.
I appreciate you reaching out to me, man. I catch your show whenever I can, and like you said, as busy as I am, people are coming home from work, and I'm normally going out to work.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right, my man. Keep enjoying that retirement.
Yeah. Me and Joe Spillman both, right?
There you go. Exactly. All right, man. Take care, Milton. We'll talk soon, my man.
All right, guys. Take care.
You bet. There he goes, Milton Hope. Man, lots of years right there. Lots of years that he has done that. And this is the funny thing, like talking to him right there. So he gets on the air, and I'm producing this thing, and it's like he starts talking, and I'm like having to move all these levels and all this. I'm like, oh, okay. Hold on here.